Hi, this is Christy Strickler for GetItScrap.com, and I'm here with some ideas for scrapbooking pages about teachers who have impacted your life. Tribute pages that celebrate the impact of others on your life are a treasure to include in your albums. Quite often, the most impactful people in our lives are teachers. In this video, we will see how the Get It Scrapped creative team has documented teachers who have played a key role in their lives. Now, all of the layouts you're going to see today have one thing in common, and that's that they tell a story of how the teacher influenced them or helped them in some way. That's not necessarily what I want you to pay attention to here. I want you to pay attention to color, use of motif, use of symbolism on the page, and how they used that to reinforce the story. This first layout is by Bowman, and she has used symbolism pertinent to the teacher's field. Bowman says, "This layout is a tribute to Dr. Ani Zebda, one of my professors in graduate school. He inspired me to become a professor at the university level. A blended portrait photo complements a silhouette of him teaching in class. The shadow adds interest and places an emphasis on the silhouette. The title and plus sign relate to him being a professor of accounting. With the photos on the left side of the page, there is plenty of journaling space on the right." In addition to the symbolism, I'd like to point out the design of the page. It has a very balanced feel, and in a way that also supports the concept that this is a teacher of accounting. He would probably be very balanced and calculated. Whereas if you were possibly doing a page about an art teacher, you might want to consider a more free-flowing page with brighter colors. So you can use symbolism pertinent to the teacher's field, as well as color and page design that supports that field to tell the story about your teacher as your mentor. This next layout is by Outhouse, and she's done a page about her music instructor. And of course, she could have used any type of musical themed pattern paper or motifs and embellishments on the layout. Instead, she chose to use patterns and colors that defined the personality of her teacher, Mr. Gibson, and gave a masculine feel to the page. Outhouse says, "This page is about my favorite piano teacher. The story is presented with extensive journaling and a single posed portrait photo. I chose masculine colors and elegant Art Deco motifs as underlying details to further define his life." Sometimes place is just as important as the teacher or the subject itself, and sometimes it's a little bit blended with both. In this next layout by Audrey Tan, she documents how a language teacher helped her learn the local dialect. Audrey Tan says, "I recently moved to India and I decided to take up Hindi. I found a beginner class and an excellent teacher who taught Hindi in a clear and concise manner that made it easy to learn. I found myself able to communicate in basic phrases, and that helps me tremendously. I've tailored the page to reflect the country I'm living in. Hence, there are Indian motifs, a map of India, and I even found the Hindi character and used it as part of my title." Now, if you don't have any particular motifs or patterns that you feel support the teacher's subject or support the location that the teaching took place, you can of course revert to school-themed products. There's nothing wrong with that, and they're often the perfect product to tell your story. This next layout is by Deborah Hunt, and she says, "Miss S was our teacher for 2 years. I say our because our main philosophy in teaching special education is building community between teachers, children, and parents. This changed all of our lives. The photo shows her interacting with my son on just one school day. I described Miss S, her philosophies, and why we loved her so in the journaling. I used school-themed products as well as inspirational quotes and sayings to support the theme of the page and of our story." On this layout by Stephanie Semple, we continue with the idea that the perfect product to tell the story is a traditional school-themed collection or kit. Stephanie says, "My second son loved his grade 0 teacher, and she still holds a special place in his heart. I wanted to honor her and share a few snippets that I journaled in 2002. This was before the time that I had a digital camera, so I only have this one photo of them taken on the first day of school. I converted the photo to black and white and used the Tangram template that looks like an arrow to imply that much of his scholastic career lies ahead of him. The solid gray serves as a solid foundation, and that is what Aunt Shirley gave him as he started his life at big school. The school theme motifs add charm and cue the theme, and the splatter foundation symbolizes the messiness that the foundation phase can be at school. So here again, we've got the traditional motif, but this goes back to what I was talking about earlier, in which I mentioned that design can play a part in how you tell your story. So she's got that idea that she's pointing forward to his future, and she's got the different themes in the page and the messiness in that foundation. So she's bringing it all together in the page design, and it supports the story. It's very subtle, but it's there. Now you're probably wondering what you should do if you don't have photos of the classroom, of your teacher, or you only have a couple of them. Our next two layouts are going to solve that problem. The first one is by Marie-Pierre Capistran, and she says, "This page is about my 3rd and 4th grade teacher. To this day, I think about her regularly, and she needs a place in my childhood album. I was lucky to have a picture of her. For the photo of the school scene, I contacted her, and she sent me a bunch of pictures that were taken during school time. I took the one I was in and also one that represented the school on a normal day. I also used a picture of the school. It was a private house. 2 years ago, I knew that I wanted to document my time at this very special school someday, so I took a day trip and photographed it and the surroundings. This filled me with lots of memories. Since my pictures are black and white, I wanted to bring life to the page. I used a neutral background with pops of color and separated my page into 3 parts. One documents the location of the school, the other one is about the inside of the school on an ordinary day, and the third documents the teacher herself. My journaling represents very specific details of what we did in this school and what this teacher did that I loved. I wish I had a piece of ephemera to add to the page. Maybe I'll find one later on and I'll slide it in the pocket I created with the photo." So there's a couple of things that she mentions here that you can do. She was very lucky to be in contact with the teacher, and of course if this is your child, you're probably more likely to be in contact with the teacher, and you can request a photo from her. She's also been able to go back to the school. So if you have the opportunity to visit your old school, you can take some photos. You can also try Googling the school online to see if you can find some stock images on their website that you can use as well. Marie also mentions ephemera. So if you have anything from when you were in school, perhaps it's some artwork or copy of your report card, anything that might jump out at you, you could use that in place of a photo or add it in to enhance the photos that you have. The next layout we're going to see is by Heather Awesome, and she solves the problem of not having a photo of her teacher in a different way. If you don't have a photo of your teacher, don't worry about it. You can use a school photo. After all, we're often wondering what to do with all those copies of the school photos and portraits that we get. Heather says, "My page is about the teacher I had in the 2nd and 3rd grade, and then maintained a lifelong friendship with. Unfortunately, I don't have any photos of Mrs. Simmons, but I do have my class photo, and since we bonded over a mutual love of Anne of Green Gables, I used a picture that I found online." So this also brings another idea into play. If your teacher introduced you to something that influenced you, like a book or a movie or a concept, you can document that with your school portrait or even without it. She's found a cover of the book here, and you can use that to document your story. We've seen a lot of ideas for documenting the stories about our teachers and mentors. Remember, it's all about the story and how you use motif, symbolism, color, and design on your pages. This was originally an article on the Get It Scrapped blog. We'll link up to that for you in the notes for this video. For more inspiration, visit getitscrapped.com/blog.